Jordan Peele has become the modern-day benchmark of the horror genre. With 3 critically acclaimed feature films, countless awards, and a shiny gold man, he knows what makes a film exciting, and he knows how to implement that into the story. His 2022 release Nope is no exception. He proved his writing capability in Get Out and horrifying visuals in Us. Now Peele, alongside his sound department, proves that nothing scares us more than familiar sounds from the unknown. In this video, I'll be discussing the original aims, the utilisation, and the execution of creating a monster almost entirely of sound. There is no lack of scary alien films in current cinema, but how Peele and sound designer Johnny Byrne brought a unique vastness to their extraterrestrial by using an array of simple wind recordings. When we were first introduced to OJ and his father, Otis, at their ranch in the deserts of California, the massive sky and drone of the wind is anticipated. Only when the wind cuts out entirely, then returns with an eerie obscured scream blending with the gale, do we get the feeling that something is not right.
Damn it. Thought I told you to fix the damn walker. You hear that?
This is confirmed by OJ reacting the exact same way as us. Puzzled, he searches for the source of the screech, despite, in Johnny Byrne's words,
he knows full well that he's heard a scream, but he's doubting himself because how absurd would it have been that that actually happened?
We later find out that it was a real human scream from the victims being digested above, tricking our ears in the same vein as the McGurk effect and magnetization, where we think we hear something different by whatever we see on screen, when in reality it's never changed, similar to the wailing wind, and that it was always screams. Peele explained to Byrne what he wanted, as quoted in an interview.
All the ways that without seeing it you could sense that it's there.
This goes back to the 1975 classic Jaws method. The less you see, the scarier the beast, which he later references for inspiration. Where Jaws used music to create a presence of the monster, Nope uses the seemingly anapathetic rumble of the wind to capture the alien ambience, to give the audience the same uncanny and unsettled experience as the characters on screen. Whereas the music in Nope runs empathetically to the scene, with a horror cliché of violins building the tension. The entire mystery and intrigue of the scene comes from the change of sound in the wind, adding essentially all the value to the clip, setting up the tone of the film, which leads me to believe that it isn't as unempathetic as initially thought. Johnny Byrne quotes that
wind is such a kind of white noise, blank canvas, that if you use EQ frequencies, if you boost that sound at particular musical frequencies, you can start to make the sound more interesting. It could be horror, emotional, upbeat, so you can start to use wind more as an emotion.
This can relate to Robert Mott, as he writes, "To an audile, a piece of cellophane represents the sound of a crackling fire. This is true to the experience of Nope. The wind doesn't play the wind, but something otherworldly. And on a rewatch, you realise from the start this alien has been hunting humans long before the movie began." This vastness that we slowly get familiar to throughout the movie is completely removed from us when we come to Gordy the Chimp's meltdown scene. The sound team were able to create an alien beyond our understanding through familiar sounds, but how they created fear for an animal we all know, they used as little sound as possible. Peele talks about how Byrne demonstrated restraint with reducing the sound and even using silence. This was to allow the Foley enough space to really capture the true horror of the situation.
And just knowing how much to remove, and the answer was pretty much everything.
This restraint is shown in the cinematography as well, with a long dolly shot that doesn't show much of the massacre. Instead, we get to hear the thumps and gruesome squelches of an enraged ape unleashing his fury upon innocent people. We feel the silence when we hear the most distant sound or the slightest rustle near us. We are entrenched in the scene, no escape, just like Jupe. Our ears are reduced to his ears. We are no longer in the vast extension of OJ and Emerald's desert ranch, but in the null extension of a terrified little boy. The suppression of ambient sounds can create the sense that we are entering into the mind of a character. To conclude, Peele and Burns and the entire sound department elevated Nope from an entertaining thriller to a nail-biting, skin-crawling horror triumph. They created a memorable alien that looked like your run-of-the-mill UFO in a film landscape filled with more interesting visual designs by focusing on not just how it sounded, but why it sounded the way it did. They also displayed skill with Gordy's scene, which is burned into my head with removing almost every sound and leaving me to endure those visceral crunches and splats.